very highly regulated for safety reasons. And you could argue whether or not some of that is necessary, but regardless of whether it's necessary, it exists, and it's very important as medical professionals that you stay within that realm.
Right. Well, and I've had several psychiatrists tell me, as Briggs' mom, you probably know more about medications for schizophrenia than I ever would. But that's because I've dealt with schizophrenia meds with
very personal
my
for you.
son. It's very personal for me. That does not mean I can go to somebody else with schizophrenia and say, well, you need to give them these meds.
Right. You also see schizophrenia on a different level than most psychiatrists will, because they're going to be in the office for a few minutes getting stories.
Right. I live it.
But they don't see it.
Right.
The same with you, like when you worked at the prison for a little while, you saw it in real life. It becomes more real to you when you see it that way.
Well, and in the prison system, when I worked, so it wasn't the prison, it was a jail. It was a county jail. But when I worked in the county jail environment, I was very blessed in that the supervising psychiatrist recognized that I had more experience with schizophrenia and therapeutic techniques and medications than he did. And so when we sat down to talk about meds, if I brought something up, it was more of this teamwork setting.
Yeah.
And that was beneficial for the client. But that's a clinician dependent thing. I've worked with doctors who are like, you're a master's level counselor. What do you know? And they don't take any of my suggestions. But this one doctor, when I said, hey, what I'm seeing is agitation, and I was able to use that more medically advanced terminology, our patients in the jail had much better treatment outcomes, which is our goal in the first place, is to make their life better.
I think that when it comes to life coaching, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're speaking the same language, right? So if you come to a life coach, for instance, a religious issue, you're speaking the same language. There's a lot of quality that can come out of that because the language that you speak is the same.
I'm not sure I'm following what you mean by language.
So, well, to go to Mormonism, faith crisis in Mormonism, if you go to somebody who's gone through a faith crisis in Mormonism, you understand the same things in general. When you say temple, they know what you mean.
So you're talking about like the assumption of similarity, meaning because you're a faith crisis person, for people coming out of Mormonism, I understand the environment on a deeply intimate level because I've experienced it.
Yeah.
Therefore, we have the same verbiage?
Yeah, a little bit. The same thing as when you're talking with a doctor, if you're using the technical terms, they immediately will trust what you're talking about more than if you come in layman terms. Whether or not that's appropriate doesn't matter. It happens because you're speaking their language.
Well, and one of the things is a good counselor, a good clinician, therapist, counselor that's licensed is going to be able to adapt their language to fit whatever client is on the couch. So and it's really interesting. John Larson had said something about general practicing clinicians. I wouldn't go to them. I would go to somebody, and I think it was John Larson. It may have been John Dehlin. I don't know. I get them mixed up. But they said, I wouldn't go to a general practicing counselor. And I would say, well, why not? I mean, I think all of us as counselors, we start out as general practitioners and then we specialize as we move forward. I would say that for me, my specialties where I've taken extra training and credentialing is in trauma, in marriage, in anxiety, and now in religion. So those would be my four, like where I've received official training in that. But because I live in such a small rural community, I'm still going to see those general things like anxiety and depression. And so really what it is the longer, because I'm required to maintain so many continued education credits, the longer I practice, the more specializations I have, because I want to be able to stay at the top of my field and constantly use evidence-based treatments for my clients. And the longer you're around, the more you see. So just like, if you're going to a doctor with 20 years of experience, I expect that doctor to have more specialities.
Sure.
Then, so I would say as far as a general counselor versus a specialized counselor, it really, interview your counselor, interview your life coach, see if they're a good fit. Ask them. Like, I think it was John Larson that said, interview them, like go in with some questions like, how are you going to help me?
Yeah.
I like that. When my clients come in and interview me in that way, I love it because it demonstrates for me their motivation for change, but it also right from the get-go makes it very clear what they expect out of the relationship.
Right.
But a lot of people just aren't equipped to come in and do that. Shout out to Phoenix, Dallas, Fort Worth, Salt Lake City, Raleigh, North Carolina, and San Antonio. Y'all are our best listeners, our top 5 listeners, not the best listeners. Ooh, shoot, that's not what I meant to say. Our top 5, we have the most downloads there, y'all. We have over 1,500 downloads of Unpacking Mormonism in just under 8 weeks. That is awesome.
That is incredible.
We would love to invite anybody in those areas who are interested in being an advertising partner with Unpacking Mormonism to reach out to us. What would it be like if your business had gotten 1,500 exposures over the last 2 months? We would love to do business with you. Please reach out to us at daisygirlcommunications@gmail.com. Thanks and have a great day.